Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this meeting of the Cabinet. And before we begin the meeting, I read out the normal procedures on fire evacuation and microphones. No planned fire alarm scheduled at this time other than a test at 12 o'clock. So if the fire alarm does go off and it's not just a test, please make your way out of the building via the nearest fire exit to the car park beside the Windmill Public House. And the microphones, please ensure that the microphone directly in front of you is switched on and logged in. Please do not move the microphone from its set position, and when speaking, ensure that the microphone is directly in front of you, not to the side or up high. So that's just to make sure that online people can hear you when they look back on the meeting. Right, so if we just start the meeting, first of all, with the apologies for absence. I believe we do have an apology for absence because of illness. Do we?
We have apologies from Councillor Adam and Councillor Grocott.
There does seem to be some flu or colds around at the moment. So do keep yourself all healthy, the rest of you. Thank you. Disclosures of interest. Reminded to declare the existence of any disposable pecuniary interest, etc., as in the agenda papers. Is there anybody that needs to declare an interest of any sort? No. Moving on then. We have two sets of minutes to sign. One was for the 10th of March and the extraordinary meeting held on the 17th of March. Can I ask for approval that I can sign the minutes for the 10th of March? Are you all happy for me to be able to sign those minutes? Okay. And then we have the minutes for the extraordinary meeting on the 17th of March. Are you all happy that I should sign those as being accurate as well? Thank you very much indeed. Then moving on to part A, which are matters to be referred to Council. And there's nothing that I think that we have anything under that item. So part B are matters for decision by the Cabinet. And the first item on that, item 4, are the single equality scheme targets for 2025-2026, which comes under my portfolio. And we are considering the equality targets for 2025-26, and this is pursuant to the Section 149 of the Equality Act 2010, where it is our duty to publish in the information to show that we've got compliance with the equality duty as in law. So have I got any questions that need to be raised on this item before I move the recommendation? Is there anybody that wants to question or raise any questions? Can I therefore move the recommendation that the single equality scheme targets for 25-26 identified in paragraph 1.4.3 be approved? Could I have a seconder? Councillor Coles is seconding. Is the Cabinet all in favour? Okay, thank you very much indeed. And the second item is round 3 of the Community Climate Change and Nature Recovery Fund. And again, I have to thank the officers for doing a lot of work on this. There is, the report has 4 recommendations, and it's that the Community Climate Change be re-established for a 3rd round and formally renamed the Community Climate Change and Nature Recovery Fund, that a total budget of 150,000 be allocated, that applications being appraised and approved using a process set out in the report over the next 12 months, with funds distributed on a quarterly basis, and that the Deputy Chief Executive, in consultation with myself, continue to have delegated authority to approve the recommendations of the appraisal group and arrange and issue payments. The fund is very much targeted to enable parish councils, community groups and sport groups to undertake activities in their own villages, towns, communities to tackle climate change and nature initiatives. I've visited several, And I have been very impressed by the work that has been done by the volunteers on the schemes that have gone forward in the past. So the item today is to say that we'd like to be able to take this forward for a remaining year. Do I have any questions? Councillor Passingham.
Well, I'd just like to say I welcome the increase to £150,000. I know the £50,000 that it has been so far has been very useful for voluntary groups and various people that are trying to do a lot of work. But as I understand it, there's no date set yet for when it will start. But have you any ideas when it's likely to start?
Well, it will depend upon the decision taken today, but yes, it will be started as soon as the officers can arrange to do that. Okay. Councillor Crump.
Sorry about that, failed. Yeah, thank you, Councillor Junior. Yeah, we spoke about this at OSC on Friday. Yeah, there's some good points that came out that rather having it in one go, it'll be spread out over the year, so spreading the workload. And then it doesn't mean any bids are rushed as well. So I think we thought that was sensible. We noted the fact there's in one of the mitigations that in the grant agreement, it could be recovered if the project hadn't been sufficiently progressed after 3 months or not been delivered or to a reasonable standard. So again, we felt that was sensible. And again, just to keep a watch and brief. One of the things we did notice, or members did ask, that I think when it was presented, it was oversubscribed. So it would be interesting to see and know how much it was oversubscribed. And I think it also potentially needs to make clear that any previous unsuccessful bids would need to be resubmitted, not just automatically taken forward. So on the whole, yes, supported, but yeah, potentially one or two things around communication. But again, just to make it easier for people to apply. Thank you.
Indeed. I've just been advised that dates will be announced as soon as the elections are over, but they're not announced during this period. Agreed that one of the things that I've found is, for example, the way in which organisations such as the Warwickshire Association of Local Councils have been able to publicise some of the work has raised awareness, and people have been spreading the word about these grants and the success of them. It's important that the outcome, the success of them, is also reported. Councillor Curtis.
Thank you, Leader. Yes, just one query really. I wonder, is there a requirement for applicants to demonstrate financial need for district council support? Because I mean, looking down this list, I'm sure that most of these, these small parish councils absolutely wouldn't be, or probably wouldn't be able to undertake these projects without support. But I think as a matter of sort of good effectiveness and ensuring good practice, perhaps there should be a requirement for applicants to disclose the level of their reserves that they may have, just to ensure that if we are funding projects, that we're funding the right projects that actually need our financial support.
I think that that's the kind of information that it is looked at. But one of the things that I know, and I have visited some of them, is that some of the projects do require matched funding, and there's some incredible work being done by volunteers, putting in time, their own time, to being able to find matched funding for some of these schemes, particularly some of the like village halls, etc. There's an incredible amount of work that goes into these schemes. They are mostly volunteer groups that are supported by, for example, their parish councils. But it's the financials are looked at by the group. Thank you very much indeed. So, as I say, I've been impressed by the amount of work that has been put into these schemes by volunteers, and I certainly thank them for doing that. And I'm aware of the communications that has gone on to spread awareness of what they're doing as well. So we have before us 4 recommendations that we need to agree. I'm happy to propose those recommendations. Is there anybody that's willing to second? Councillor Gist is seconding it. Are you all in favour of the recommendations? All agreed? Thank you very much indeed. Moving on now to the Performance Management Framework 2025-26, and these are the proposed key performance indicators and council plan actions for year 2, which will look at how we've performed against the council plan. So moving on to page 35 to 36, and again this comes under my portfolio, and it presents the proposed council plan actions and suggested key performance indicators and monitoring arrangements going ahead, with 1 recommendation. Now, I'm happy to propose the recommendation, but is there anybody that wants to raise any questions on the performance targets that have been proposed and put forward?
Sorry, Leader, if I may, just to bring to Cabinet's attention, there are 4 new indicators included in the key performance indicators this year. They're shown on section paragraph 1.6. They add to the ones that were there previously, but I just brought that to your attention. Thank you.
And that's welcomed. Councillor Crump.
Yeah, again, just 2 very small points from OSC. Mr Buckland beat me with the 4 new targets for environmental health. Great minds thinking alike or something like that. And the other bit, there was a change in the recycling contamination target. It went from 5% to 10%. I think that's right, isn't it, Julie? And I think it's because of the change to the methods used to measure this. So perhaps for public consumption, just if there are changes to some of the targets, you know, obviously that's doubling, and there is a valid reason for that. But if somebody just read that in isolation, it would be, oh, the council's prepared to accept a doubling of the contamination rate, which isn't right. It's having to do it because the change in measures, etc. So it just obviously it's only going from 5 to 10%, which is doubling. So if there are some changes that require a little bit of explanation, that would also be helpful. Thank you.
Yes, indeed. I do appreciate that. And I was reminded about also the 1.6 items. This actually illustrates a lot of what the councils, like district councils, do that people are not always aware of. So, for example, planned food inspections that are completed. There's not everybody who realises that that's the kind of thing that the district council does and is a very important part of what the district council does. The applications under the Licensing Act. And then it says here also the Programmed Integrated Pollution Prevention and Control Environmental Permitting Scheme. Again, people are not aware of it. This is quite a really important part of the council that often gets hidden. And then the private water supply required samples and risk assessments to meet the drinking water inspector requirements. Again, it kind of underlines that there's a lot that the council does that needs to be highlighted. And what Councillor Crump says is making sure that we present it and make sure accurately, but also telling people about the kind of work that this council does, and that we are meeting those and setting ourselves targets, and that we're determined to meet those targets. Okay, so have I got any other questions? If not, I will move the recommendation which is that the council plan actions for year 2, appendix 1, and the key performance indicators and targets, appendix 2, for 2025 and 26 be approved. I've moved it. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Gist? And are you all in favour? Okay, thank you very much indeed. Moving on now to the Community Infrastructure Levy, pages 57 to 100. And this is to seek agreement on the updated infrastructure list, and this is under the portfolio of Councillor Coucher.
Thank you, Chair. When we assumed control of the council, I think we were very concerned that actually our list of infrastructure projects had not been updated since 2018 and were very out of date. And indeed, we had a system, obviously, of bidding for SIL works, and SIL is basically one of the primary sources of money that we have available to us to actually improve our infrastructure. So an awful lot of work has been done by officers in terms of distilling a new and up-to-date list of particular targets that we do need to address. That is a live document, which I'm sure will be further updated and amended as the South Warwickshire local plan begins to mature, and we begin to get quite clear in terms of what is actually required in relation to that. I think there are some very key principles that we are very keen to see here. One is that the actual use of SIL money is related to those areas where there has been substantial new development and those areas where that money has come from. We're also, I think, and 2 points I think that came up on Friday at ONS, we want to ensure that this is actually about capital schemes, about new investment, not about repairs of existing infrastructure that should be actually financed by other bodies. And also, this is not to substitute schemes that should be being provided by others, and particularly the county council in relation to highway schemes. And we will certainly look at anything where there appears to be some duplication between those. So we have before us today a list of schemes that would be priority one. We also have, I think, an extremely useful list as well of all of the infrastructure requests that have been made through the neighbourhood development plans by many parishes as well. And I think that will be also a very useful source of guidance for us in going forward. I think what we're asking today in our recommendation is that we approve this list for future work, and there's still quite a lot of work to be done on those particular areas, and clearly there are more schemes in that list than we have SIL money available. So we will need to prioritise in terms of which ones actually we can contribute to. But at least now I think we have got a much more even playing field than we've had in the past under the old bidding arrangement where the NHS always took the lion's share. A point I know that Councillor Passingham is very keen on is also ensuring that we will be monitoring that when we do make allocations, it is very clear through legal agreement exactly what that money is going to be used for, and we will be monitoring to ensure that the money is spent correctly and doesn't wander off to fund other things. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Crump.
Yep, glad to see Councillor Coucher was actually listening on Friday. There's one or two people watching. I think the press were actually watching and quoted something later, which I'll probably mention later. There's a couple of things on this. One of the ideas we felt would make it easier for residents to see where money was coming from that funded certain infrastructure bids, etc., was the use of maps. And I think the officer took that on board to see where the money was coming from. One of the points that Mr. Careford raised, that some of the schemes were under Section 106 rather than SIL. Some of the ones that have been happening a few years ago. Obviously, I think SIL came in was it 2010, John, something like that, roughly. But I know that some of the schemes that were signed under Section 106, so they've got tight agreements. And I think Mr. Careford will come in there. There is quite a similar agreement under the SIL levies money, so I think he'll be able to confirm that. But we felt that if there were some maps where the things came from, where the monies came from that funded different works, that would be helpful. We also note that SIL money, our policy is not only just locally based, it's district-wide as well. Whereas towns and parish councils do get some SIL money depending on the state of their NDP. Was it 25% if they've got an NDP up to date? So they can then spend that money locally as well. So I think it's about working together, make clarity. and making sure the process is open and transparent, and everybody knows what's going on about. And I do take your point on about that. I think we did raise it on Friday that we needed some way of making sure that the money was spent on its intended purposes, which invariably it is. So we think that's right. So thank you.
Councillor Passingham.
I note that that this is a live document at the infrastructure list, and depending on the development of the South Warwickshire local plan, on item paragraph 1.16 about South West Relief Road being and the rail line link to Honeybourne being essential part of the development at Long Marston Airfield, that they're not included on the list. Well, in the case of the South West Relief Road, it's got £250,000 allocated for a study for this. But in terms of the Honeybourne rail link, there is needed a further business study done to see how viable that will be, especially as there are so many new settlements planned along the rail line between Leamington and Worcester, and a rail link would be an essential link for all of those towns like Throgmorton and Wootton and so on. So in order for this to be considered properly in the South West Relief Plan, shouldn't there be some more funding somehow for the further study for the link to Honeybourne?
Councillor Coucher.
Yes, I mean, I think we have to recognise we've already put money available in relation to the budget, in relation to the feasibility of the Western bypass for Stratford, which is so important. And we've also agreed elsewhere that we will progress that business case in relation to the rail. So we don't actually need SIL money necessarily for doing either of those at this particular point in time. I think the point of that paragraph is clearly you will never fund all of that infrastructure out of SIL. And frankly, what we have to do, I think, as a result of the work that we're doing there, is make bids to government, because we will need national funding in either respect of the rail or the road, but one or other or both are extremely important in relation to our preparation of the South Warwickshire local plan, because we do need new transport infrastructure to serve development southwest of Stratford.
Councillor Littlewood.
Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to go back to Councillor Coucher's comments with regard to ensuring allocation of funds is to the purpose originally considered to be the core of the application, and he referred to Councillor Passingham's very keenness to make sure that that was the case in all cases. But I'm sure Councillor Coucher recalls on several occasions of me asking these questions regarding the CIB allocation funding. That obviously is a horse that's left the stables by itself. But I think we need to ensure that the specification of funding allocations in the small print has to be highly detailed, so that we don't lose money from the pot that could be used elsewhere, where the original intention is not going to be fulfilled. Thank you.
Councillor, John Careford, Head of Development. I'm so used to saying councillor before everything, being polite.
Thanks, Chair. Just to clarify with Councillor Crump, so this council introduced SIL, was operational from February 2018. But it was a couple of years after the core strategy was adopted, so there was a period where a lot of development in this district wasn't tied in with the infrastructure, and what this change presented today and in the previous reports have gone to Cabinet around SIL is trying to re-establish that link between where development's going and where we spend SIL.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, when we had the problems with the not adopting the local plan around about 2014-16 and all the development that came and was won on appeal because without a proper infrastructure basis to it, we really, and we're still struggling from some of that today. Okay, so unless there's any more questions, and just to make it draw to your attention that not only have members been consulted on this, it was the parish and partners briefing and they've all been notified of these changes, but it's an ongoing document and it will be developed. So we have a recommendation in front of us that the inclusion of the projects provided at Appendix 1 of this report onto the infrastructure list to enable further consideration of the projects for strategic SIL funding be approved. Are you approving that? Yeah, that's Councillor Coucher is proposing that. I'll second that. Are you all in favour? All in favour? Yes, thank you. So that's that item done. The next item is the allocation of the UK Shared Prosperity Funding, the 2025 allocation, which is on pages 101 to 114. And this again is, it's Councillor Coles who's going to take this today.
Thank you, Chair. This report is making recommendations on the allocation of an element of the UK SPF Year 4 Communities in Place grant funding, totalling £320,000. This list will be submitted to the County Council as they are the lead authority, and the report recommends direct awards to 8 projects which are also listed within the report. The recommendations are that option 1 in section 2 of the report, approving the proposed list of projects for Year 4 UK SPF funding for submission to the County Council as local lead authority be accepted, and that we delegate authority to the Deputy Chief Executive in consultation with portfolio holders for planning and economic development and the housing and customer services on any change to the allocations. There is background. Obviously the UK SPF has been running, but there was a change this year that the lead authority was the County Council, and on the 6th of March the County Council then agreed to delegate a proportion of the community in place funding to district and boroughs for allocation. As I said, the amount delegated is £320,000. This needs to be allocated and spent by March 26, the end of March 26, and we will need to provide regular updates. We also, just for a note, as it says in the report, the Rural England Prosperity Fund allocation went to 2025. This was from DEFRA, but it hasn't been confirmed for 25-26. The Warwickshire allocation hasn't been confirmed, and we don't know at present if that is going to come. There's information on the allocation process, but I think it is interesting to look at the proposals we have. They are they have a direct effect, a positive effect for our residents within the district, and I think that's always very positive to show. I mean, unless you get salmonella, you don't really appreciate the food hygiene in restaurants and all the rest of it. All of these projects will have a direct benefit, visible positive benefit for residents within the district. We are very happy to make the allocation, for instance, of £55,000 for the domestic abuse projects, and it provides counselling to those children affected by this, both adults and children, and this is to ensure that the service is there and continues to support our residents. And we feel very strongly this is something that we should be supported, regardless of it not being one of our major responsibilities, but is something we're deeply concerned and wish to remain involved and ensure that it happens. The expansion of the Community Builder project is also one that's very dear to our hearts. It's been very successful. It will probably be funded by different funding now because of the lead-in time to appoint the new community builders. We wouldn't leave enough time to have it in and spent. Excuse me. Additional funding for the Warm Homes local grant. which is already being extended beyond the, with the new, the name of it, sorry, is the cold-induced memory loss. This is to supplement an existing programme which has been remarkably successful. And I think, Councillor Juned, you and I went and visited someone's home where these improvements have been done, and it was very visible, the results, and a very positive programme to be able to support. And then at the bottom we have the High Street Vacancies Fund, and this is in place to help with actions to improve high streets. I know this is very dear to very many of our residents' hearts, that concern over struggling high streets, and you know, we're glad that we're able to put some of this money towards that. Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you very much. We have questions. Councillor Cowsis?
Yeah, thank you very much, Leader. Not so much questions, but just I'm really pleased to see the additional funding, as Councillor Coles has highlighted, to the domestic abuse projects. I think that's something that we all really value. And I'm also very pleased to see the additional funding or the extension for the rural crime advisors. It's an extremely rural district, and the work of the rural crime advisors is much valued by the rural communities. So I'm very pleased to see that there as well. Thank you.
Any other question? Councillor Giss?
More of a statement, really, Leader, but forgive my voice, but the South Warwickshire Community Safety Partnership met in end of February to sort of realign our crime priorities. So acquisitive crime in rural areas is going to be one of our ongoing priorities, as is domestic violence, with a focus on repeat victims and perpetrators, which I'm sure we all wish we didn't have to have as a priority, but we do. So I'm really pleased to see these two pieces of work to support residents, and I'd like to thank the Community Safety Officer particularly for bringing forward the domestic abuse project, and the Community Safety Manager, because they did it very quickly.
Councillor Crump?
I want to perhaps declare an interest on this, because I've got the portfolio held community safety at the County Council. So I want to just briefly speak about the domestic abuse and the community safety partnership, which is affected by this. Is that okay? Yep. This won't be taken into consideration. I do believe that all partners have got a duty to cooperate on this and provide funds. And however those funds are used, you know, they will be used wisely, I'm sure. So it is vital, and I'm on the same Safer Warwickshire Community Safety Partnership with Councillor Gist, and then she comes to the Safer Warwickshire Partnership Board, which I chair currently. So I think, yeah, it is vital, and we do need to get the message out, and we need to make sure that people are reporting all incidents as well. So there's still a significant underreporting. So again, if that message could be get out, that please report and use different various means. And I know one of the ways is via Crime Stoppers, which is, I think, 0800 555 111 or something like that. So again, very important. So just supportive of those items on that one. Thank you.
Yes, this is one area where partnerships by a lot of people, a lot of organisations, is absolutely essential to address something that is completely unacceptable. I welcome, I know that I've already had the Town Council welcome the High Street Vacancy Fund and the Ulsters on that list, so thank you very much for that. We have now the recommendation. Councillor Coles, are you going to move that recommendation, propose it? And two recommendations that are being proposed. That we approve the proposed list and we delegate authority according to what the recommendations. Councillor Coucher, do you want to say anything, or are you happy? Everybody else is... do you want to second the... Yeah, okay. And in which case, we've just put it to the rest of the Cabinet. Are you all in favour? Okay, agreed. Thank you very much indeed. That's that one item also dealt with. The next item is the... item 9, where we actually have a member of the public coming to speak to us. And it's about the Butterfly Farm, and it's about granting a new lease to Stratford Butterfly Farm. And I have been notified that Mr. Clive Farrell, owner of the Butterfly Farm, would like to come and address us. And you have 3 minutes to speak. welcome to this meeting of the Cabinet. I do appreciate that you've taken the trouble to come. So your 3 minutes starts now.
Thank you, Councillor Dew, for allowing me to address Cabinet about Stratford Butterfly Farm, a business which is dear to my heart, which has been established in St Albans for nearly 40 years. It is more than just a business to me and is the largest butterfly farm in the UK. Not just butterflies, we exhibit many animals including leaf-cutting ants, giant spiders, stick insects, praying mantids, snakes, lizards, and even our very own wildly popular caiman, who lives in a specially constructed cenote. I have extremely loyal staff, more like a family than workers, some of whom have been with me for over 30 years. Since we opened, we have often been described as a jewel in the crown of Stratford-upon-Avon, providing an important alternative to the town of William Shakespeare, especially among school children and young families. There are scores of school parties and numerous visits from care homes and overseas groups. While we breed some of our butterflies here on site, we also acquire butterfly pupae from breeding farms in various rainforest locations around the world, including our own farm in Belize in Central America. This is important as it provides a livelihood for predominantly poor families in a sustainable way without destroying the rainforest itself. But the butterfly farm is a business and receives no support from the state, and keeping and breeding butterflies and maintaining an exhibition of this standard is an expensive business. One of the biggest costs is providing sufficient heat, light to mimic natural habitats, and we have great plans to invest in energy-saving double glazing and other energy-saving measures. To do this, we require longevity in the lease. We have just under 10 years to run now, and we've negotiated with Tony Perks and his assistants to surrender the current lease and create a new 50-year lease, which will effectively give us another 40 years. So we can plan ahead and we can make it even better than it is now. We've negotiated a removal of the turnover rents, which has become inappropriate and unduly oppressive, because the more money we spend on improving this exhibition...
Your 3 minutes is up.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
My apologies for that, Ted, because you got to the important bit about the finances.
I just hope that you will approve the lease that Tony Perks has negotiated with us.
The case is made in the papers, and can I just say what pleasure I've had in bringing not only my own children but my grandchildren to the butterfly farm over many, many years. So I don't think that's a financial interest, but I have enjoyed coming. Councillor Giss.
Yes, my daughter actually visited the butterfly farm when she was little in a yellow coat, and she was absolutely covered in them. So, but yes, I've just expand, Mr. Farrell, on what you were saying about the rent. So there's a turnover rent at the moment, and the new longer lease that's proposed, well, I think it would be certainty for both tenant and the district council, because turnover rent involves a complicated calculation and uncertainty for everyone. So Bruton Knowles have negotiated new terms, including the rent to be as a single figure, to be reviewed annually, upwards only, based on CPI. And I'm very happy to put forward the recommendation, which is to give authorisation to the Deputy Chief Executive in consultation with the portfolio holder for law and governance and the monitoring officer to agree to the surrender of the existing lease and to grant a new lease to the existing tenant.
And you're proposing that? And I mean, I'm happy to second that. Do I have any questions from anybody, Cabinet members or others, about this item that's on the agenda? In which case it will go straight to the vote. All those in favour? Okay, agreed? Thank you very much indeed. And thank you for coming and giving us a flavour of the butterfly's arm. The next item is issues arising from the Overview and Scrutiny Committee. Do you have any items that you wanted to raise with us?
Yeah, just very briefly, Councillor Junid. Brief update on our work programme. The Police and Crime Commissioner will be attending scrutiny on 28th of May this year to discuss the 101 service. Though additional topics may be considered if members submit questions in advance, we're asking members of the Scrutiny Committee to liaise with their respective parties to come up with questions. We're trying to liaise with the ICB to get them to come to scrutiny earlier than October to discuss the Allen Badger and Upper Lighthorn. The Avon Hydro Scheme is likely to be considered by the committee as well. We'll also want an update from the Housing Association working group that we've got regarding Housing Association performance. So busy next few months. Mr. Buckland attended. He had two hats. He was presenting and sitting next to me, and him and Mr. Perks did a double act there, which was very good. Obviously, devolution, local government reorganisation update, David. Obviously, the interim plans have been submitted. There's going to be special additional meetings in November ahead of the 28th November submission. Oh, I like this, David. You keep on putting the right things there. And there's going to be £7.6 million worth of funding split between the 21 councils, meaning roughly, potentially 360,000 for SDC. But don't get your hopes.
Sorry, can I just clarify that particular point? It's 7.6 million nationally divided by the 21 county council areas, which would mean for the whole of Warwickshire there'd be 360,000, which we would then have to come to an agreement with the county and the districts about how that is split between those areas. Sorry.
Yeah, so my offer, my suggestion that we ask for 5 million for Warwickshire and then split the other 2.6 million between the other ones wasn't quite accepted. Obviously, you know, everything is up in the air still regarding details and financial implications. So again, we will be keeping an eye on this. And we felt that the involvement of parish and town councils in the process will be apt and pertinent. And the parish forum, I think on the 25th of June, is likely to have a segment on LGR and devolution. And then there'll be a formal engagement process afterwards. And I think Simon Perfield is working on that, I believe. That was good. And then the only other real point, public engagement with the council and committees. We did one regarding OSC, but also went into other committees. And sometimes we felt, the members of the public felt we weren't engaging enough, or we weren't open enough in terms of letting people know. We felt we were, but we felt that we needed to again promote ourselves more. Members of the public wanted more details in the online newsletter and using social media. So it was agreed that I will be putting out an email to all councillors, again asking members to put forward, promote it in their own newsletters, the fact there's going to be an online version of what we do and what, you know, and sometimes it was a special panel, consultation panel, and the response from that consultation panel was very low as well. And these were people who were more engaged and expressed a desire to engage with the council, but didn't engage on this time. So the lessons to be learned, but I think that if we can get our message out and promote the online newsletter and the website as well, that would be helpful. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. I know how much I appreciate the app telling me when to put my rubbish out on, but then I nicely then click to the news bit, you know, and it's good to be able to catch up with the news as well. Okay, well, we've now got cabinet committees. There's nothing that I've been notified of. Party is on block items, and I haven't had any requests for any items to be discussed. So they are taken on block. Are you all happy that they are accepted on block? And that's items 10, 11, and then moving on to urgent business. I've not been notified of any urgent business. So that brings us to the end of the meeting. Thank you very much. I'll close the meeting.